Hi everyone. Can you hear me okay? If you can hear me, please just write yes in the chat or hello so I know that you can hear me and that you can see me, and then we can get started with the session. Perfect. So yeah, if you'd like to write in the chat whereabouts you're based. I can see we've got Naidalma from Mongolia. Yeah, we've got Latvia. Hi to everyone and thanks so much for being here. Yeah, we've got more attendees from Latvia, Czech Republic. Perfect. So nice to meet you all. I will introduce myself in just a second. I will just share my screen with you. Okay, let's go back to the start here. So hopefully you can all see my screen. Oh, bear with me a second. So I am based in Edinburgh, actually. So I'm an hour behind most of you. So let me just share this with you. Perfect. So hopefully you can see my screen there. Again, if you can just write yes, and then I'll know that you can see it. So welcome to today's session on teaching with ease using Pearson English Connect. So thought I'd introduce myself first. So my name's Billie, and as I said, I'm based in Edinburgh in the UK. So I've got some lovely pictures for you here, although it doesn't look like this at the moment. It's very cold and very chilly. These are some nice sunshiny pictures, but unfortunately we don't have that at the moment. So thanks so much for being here with me today. I was a teacher for around 11 years. I was in Italy, Spain, China, and I came back to the UK to teach in Cambridge, where I did my Delta. I also write exams, adult and digital materials, many Pearson coursebook titles. I'm also a teacher trainer and a speaking examiner, and I have a professional development podcast for teachers and for English language professionals, so learning to develop yourself within English language learning. And it's called ELT CPD if you wanted to have a look. So what will we be discussing in this session? So firstly, what is Pearson English Connect? So it's a new game-changing platform, and I'll introduce that to you today if you're not familiar with it. So then, as the name suggests, we'll be looking at how to use the Pearson English Connect platform with ease. So if you already teach or use the Pearson English Portal, we'll be looking at ways to transition from the portal to Pearson English Connect easy and smoothly. We'll also be looking at how to use Pearson English Connect to make your classes stress-free, because that's what we all want as teachers: minimal preparation time, minimal marking time, and just to reduce that stress as well, whether you're teaching face-to-face, hybrid, or online. So a few notes. If you do have any questions as we go through, please do feel free to write them in the chat box and I'll address them as we go through. But if you don't have any questions and you prefer to leave them to the end, I'll do my best to answer them during the last 5 minutes of the session. Okay, so let's get started with a question for you. So do feel free to write your answers in the chat box. So many of us, if not all of us, have been forced to teach online in the last couple of years. And of course, this has led to many challenges, not only for our learners with adapting to this new way of learning, but also for us as teachers. So at the moment, are you teaching online? Are you teaching hybrid, or are you teaching face-to-face? Be interesting to see the mix here. So we've got a lot of people that are face-to-face. We've got Aya who says hybrid. Yeah, a lot face-to-face. No one completely online yet. That's interesting. I wondered how you found that transition going from face-to-face to online and then back face-to-face again. We've got someone else, Olga, who says both. So she's teaching online and face-to-face, but a lot face-to-face. Perfect. I think the most important thing is that now we've been through the last couple of years and the challenges that we faced, just hopefully, fingers crossed, nothing like that happens again. But obviously, if we're forced to go online, we need to be prepared for that, because before maybe it was a bit of a scramble, many different platforms, many different technologies that we were trying to use to make our classes as engaging as possible. And it was a challenge for learners, and it was a challenge for us as teachers as well. So hopefully Pearson English Connect can go some way to solving these issues and challenges that we've faced in the last couple of years. So I've got another question for you here. What are some of these challenges that you face when teaching online? So think back to the last sort of couple of years. What initially did you find difficult? What were some issues that you found? I'll just give you a minute to write in the chat box. For me personally, I think it was speaking practice was very difficult. Of course, when you've got students with their cameras off and you don't know sort of their home environments and everyone's got different internet setups, can be quite challenging to sort of get students engaged. So we've got some answers coming in here. Monta, lack of feedback. That's really, really interesting, actually. Yeah, because obviously you're online, you don't have that face-to-face connection and that one-on-one time that you would. Marquetta says distraction. Yeah, of course, going from one tab to another, maybe to phones and things. Ilona agrees with me with speaking, difficult to understand students' emotions. We've also got cheating. Yeah, lots of cheating. That's very, yeah, that's true. Of course, you could just Google the answers to some things. And we've also got the cameras off. Yeah, cameras off can be really, really difficult. Like Ladislava just said, it's not easy to check on pupils when they've got their cameras off. And then that leads to the distraction as well, and perhaps the cheating. So it's all linked. It's all completely linked. So hopefully Pearson English Connect can go some way to solving these issues and some of the challenges we've faced as well. So the final question for you before we get into the session. So how many of you have used the Pearson English Portal before? You just write a simple yes in the chat box. I'll just give you a moment. So maybe you've used it to present your student book and share your screen. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we've got a bit of a mix. Lots saying yes, lots saying no. Monta, I like your answer, not yet. That's great. Okay, so Pearson English Connect. So if you're familiar with the Pearson English Portal, you might notice some similarities here. If it's brand new to you, then great, we can learn together. So Pearson English Connect is the new way to teach your classes. And my hope for this session is that you come away feeling ready and at ease of either making that transition from teaching with the portal, or perhaps if you haven't used it before, using Pearson English Connect for your classes, whether that be face-to-face or online. So what is Pearson English Connect? So it's essentially a new platform which is designed to help you teach effectively in the hybrid world that we're living in. So the move to digital teaching, as we've all just mentioned, has thrown many challenges. It's been quite stressful for not only us as teachers, but also learners as well. So it's a brand new way to teach effectively, which I think we can agree that often platforms available within the last couple of years and within the pandemic have not really been optimal, or it's been a case of sort of flicking from one thing to another and sort of using some of our lesson time for that technology shift as well. So Pearson English Connect aims to change all of that because it's been designed to seamlessly link the classroom and online teaching and remove that stress for you as teachers. So everything is essentially in one place. So you can use it fully face-to-face, you can use it fully online, or if you teach hybrid lessons as well. So we'll have a look at the platform in a moment and I'll show you exactly how you could teach lessons with it. But the content itself is completely interactive. So it's not just a course book put online, as many online platforms have been in the last couple of years. So the activities are auto-graded, so students can learn at their own pace, which is perfect for an inclusive classroom that we're trying to build. And it also saves a lot of time that you just don't have as a teacher as well. So you can actually teach through the platform. It has its own video conferencing software that you can teach through, and you can assign activities and tasks in real time, which you monitor as the teacher to help with your class pace and staging. As well as this, the teacher and the learner have identical views as well, which is really unique. So you're not left wondering sort of what students can see or what they're looking at. In the teacher version of your coursebook, you can see exactly what the students can see and vice versa. A great feature, which is super unique to the platform as well, is that you can ask your learners questions and they can respond, which I think is really challenging in sort of teaching in a Zoom classroom, for example, because they're writing in the chat box, or perhaps they want to send it to you anonymously, whereas this is question and the students can directly answer as well. The content on the platform is sort of gamified, which means that activities are likely competitive and in sort of a game-styled way where they get achievements for each things that they do. And this has been proven to motivate and engage learners in what they're studying. Once learners have completed an activity or a set of activities, they can see their progress through real-time lesson reports and the detailed gradebook. So if you use the portal already, you'll know about the gradebook. And again, I'll show you that on the platform in just a moment. And this can really help students set their own goals and understand where they are and where they're heading towards on their learning journey. So essentially, as a summary, Pearson English Connect has everything you need for teaching and learning all in one place. So there's no need to switch from one platform to another. Everything's where you need it to be, including the usual tools that you would expect, like an interactive whiteboard, a scoreboard, a timer, and many, many features that you can enjoy as well. All of your course books would be on there and your video conferencing needs. So its purpose really is to remove that stress for the teacher and have sort of a one-stop shop where you can simply log in and feel like you don't need to keep going from one platform to another. As I said, if you do have any questions as we go through, please do feel free to write them in the chat box. So before we head over to the platform, I want you to just write your answers in the chat box to what Pearson coursebook do you use at the moment, or what have you used in the past? So I'll just give you a moment. Okay, so Irina said Gold Experience and Wider World. Wider World as well. Formula, perfect. Focus, great. Focus, New Success, Wider World, lovely. Has anyone used High Note? It'd be interesting to see if anyone's used that. Yeah, lots of Wider World coming through, lots of Focus as well, and Gold Experience. Great. Yeah, the majority is Focus, Wider World, and Gold Experience. Wonderful. Aha, Gundia says High Note. Perfect. So today I'll be using Focus, which I know some of you have said in the chat that you use. But if you're not familiar with it, it's a 5-level upper secondary course and it promotes motivation, memory, and meaning. And I'll also be referring to High Note as well, which is a similar style course, so a 5-level upper secondary course. And so the following sort of explanations and run through will apply to you and work in exactly the same way for your course book as well. Okay, so enough of me speaking about the platform. Let's see how we can access it and how exactly we can teach using it. So I'm going to share my screen with you here, and hopefully everyone can see my login to the Pearson English Portal here. So I've logged in and this is my account. So I've got a lot of products here, but of course, you'll just have your sort of course book that you're using. So as I said, today we'll be focusing on Focus. That works really nicely. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got Pearson English Connect. So I'm going to click on that. Okay, and we just need to accept the cookies or reject the cookies, whatever you prefer. So we've logged into our account and we've gone to the course that we're using. So I'm using sort of Focus here, but as I said, High Note follows exactly the same principles. So firstly, we're going to have a look at presenting the book using the front of class tool. So if you've used the Pearson English Portal, you've used the presentation tool likely, and so you'll be quite familiar with this. But as I said, do bear in mind that if students are using a digital book or on tablets or computers themselves, the view they have will be the same as the view the teacher has. So you could use this for face-to-face classes, which would be great, or if you're screen sharing and teaching online, for example. So let's go to our student book here. So you can see we've got all our resources and we're going to go to our student's book. So here you can see all of the units exactly as your printed course book is laid out in exactly the same order. So you've got all of your lessons and your grammar and practice activities at the back, the vlogs, the word lists, the worksheets. And we're going to focus on Unit 1 with vocabulary. So when our page comes up, you'll see it's a double page spread here. So just as if you're opening your book as you would see it. So there's different ways that you can view this. If you prefer to just see the left, you'll see these icons at the top here. You can just click on the left and you'll see the left-hand side of the page. If you want to see the right, you can just click on the right and it will get rid of everything on the left for you here. And to go back to our double page spread, you can do that as well. So you can also use the zoom feature, which is in your toolkit here. You'll see this box, so we can open our toolkit. And if you prefer to zoom into one particular area, you can also do that. And you simply click on it to zoom back out as well. And then we get rid of our zoom and close our tools. You'll also notice at the top here, you have icons which take you to the workbook, resources. So if you've used the Pearson English Portal, that will be your resources tab next to your presentation tool tab. And we've also got teaching notes as well. And we've got the whiteboard. And we'll have a look at all of this in just a moment. So how do we start our lessons? Let me just make this wider here. So first of all, you'll see that we have this light bulb. So I'm going to click on this light bulb and it tells me exactly how I'm going to warm up my lesson. So I'll give students 1 minute to think of as many personality adjectives as they can. Okay, because I need to know sort of what the teacher's book tells me to do, how to go through the activities rather than just sort of looking at the course book. So we can always use this light bulb on any activity to tell us exactly how to instruct our learners. And often it will give us some of the answers as well. So we're going to click on this activity here and zoom in to activity 1. So you'll see at the bottom here how many attempts you've done on the activity, how many errors there are, and how many total errors. So as you can tell, I've done this a number of times, this activity. So let's go through it together. If you just want to write your answers in the box, I understand this will be easy, but we'll do it together. So we need to match the adjectives with their opposites. So interesting, what's our opposite of interesting? Yeah, we've got boring, perfect. So 2A, nice, loud. 3F, excellent. Positive, 4C, great. So the last two here, I'm actually going to get wrong. Okay, so I'm going to do relaxed and let's do unsociable, sociable and stress. So I'm going to do them wrong on purpose. So I'll check the answers and I can see exactly which ones I've got correct and which ones I've got wrong. And it will tell me how many errors, imagine I'm the learner, it will tell me how many errors I've got and I can reset the task and do it correctly. So I just want to show you what happens here if we do it. Oh, where's my sociable, unsociable, relaxed, stressed? We get it correct and you'll see that I win a star, which is the gamification feature here that I was talking about. So you earn the award. So rewards and awards are elements of games and it just pushes our learners to be engaged and motivated in the activity, as they'll want to earn these awards throughout the lesson and sort of feel an achievement once they've gained all of them as well. So I'll show you where these appear. You'll see in this top right-hand corner, we've got lesson report. So if I click on the lesson report, you can see I've won my award for the first activity. I got 100% correct. I tried it 9 times and I made 8 errors in total. So these are from previous attempts that I've done. And with the gamification feature here, you can collect all the awards for all of the exercises in this first lesson. We click the lesson report or the home button, and it will take us exactly back to where we wanted to go. So every time you want to reset, you can just click the reset button as well, if a student wants to practice it again, perhaps. So there are multiple ways to go through the activities. You'll see we have an arrow at the top here. We also have the numbered activities and also the arrows at the bottom. So I'm just going to use number 2 to show you our next activity. So a really good feature on this is that you can actually record yourself speaking here. And then you can listen back and the teacher has access to the recording. So the same applies to typing. If the student wants to type something, the teacher has access to it as well and can grade it. So let's just do an example. I'm not sure how this is going to work with double recording. So I need to use the adjectives from the previous activity to describe someone I know. Okay. So my best friend is funny and interesting, but sometimes she's quiet when she's feeling unsociable. Okay, and then we can hear ourselves back. So my best friend is funny and interesting, but sometimes she's quiet when she's feeling unsociable. It's not very nice hearing your own voice back, is it? But it's excellent, as I said, because then you as the teacher can hear actively the students speaking, and you can hear them using that language in a sort of a freer practice as well. If you've got any questions as we go through, please do feel free to write in the chat box. Okay, so let's go to our next activity. We're actually going to go through a reading here. So there are different tools that you can use for your activities. As we mentioned with the Zoom function at the beginning with your tools in the box, there are lots of different other activities you can use as well. So let's say with this text, I think it's a little bit long for my students to read. I want to make it a bit more inclusive, but also to practice some skimming and scanning skills. So I'm going to open my tools up and I'm going to set a timer. And I'm going to give my learners, let's say 1 minute, and I want them to have a look for names of people in the text. 1 minute's a bit too long, let's say 30 seconds. So I can start my timer, I can get my students to skim and scan, and they're aware of how long they have left as well. They can use the markup, they can change to any color they like. They've identified a name here. They've identified a name here as well. And then we can stop the timer when it reaches the 30 seconds or however long you want the activity to be. Okay, any questions at the moment? We've got, Victoria wrote in the chat box, I usually advise students to record themselves while doing their oral topics. Exactly, yeah. I think it's really important if we are teaching online or hybrid, just to make sure that students are practicing speaking as much as possible, because often if we put them into breakout rooms, they might revert back to their own language. And it's difficult for us as one teacher to monitor many different breakout rooms. So recording yourself is really, really useful. Okay, so my timer doesn't want to stop here, does it? I'm going to reload my page. Okay, so we're going to go on to the next activity. So again, we're looking at this reading, but we're going to go to the next activity with the reading. So you'll see at the bottom, we have positive adjectives and negative adjectives and boldened words in the text. So let's imagine that we're all in a class at the moment and I want to use my tool and I want to have a scoreboard. So I've got two teams, Team A and Team B. So let's imagine in the chat that we're in Team A or Team B. And I say to Team A and B, what is the opposite of miserable in the text? Can anyone tell me once they've found it? The opposite of miserable. Let's see who comes first, Team A or Team B. Beginning with C. The opposite of miserable in the text here. Yes, perfect. We've got cheerful. Okay, so cheerful. So imagine Katerina was on team A, for example. Then I can add a point to her team, and that's we can add as many different teams as we like here as well. Yeah, perfect. Should we try one more? Okay, let's get rid of this. And let's go for the opposite of mean in the text, the opposite of mean. Oh, perfect, straight away, generous, great. So imagine Ilona was on team B there. We can add a point to Ilona's team as well. Nice. Okay, students can also record themselves speaking here if they prefer to, rather than typing. So the platform has been designed with accessibility in mind. All of our learners are different, all of them have different needs, and some of them may have difficulties reading, some of them may have difficulties typing, for example. So I'll talk a little bit more about accessibility in a moment, but it's just to know that there are multiple ways of interacting with the activities and the content on Pearson English Connect for accessibility purposes as well. Okay, any questions at the moment? Right. Perfect. So some other tools that you can use here, as we had, were markup. Okay, let's go to our orange. And say your students are reading through the text and they think, I'm not really sure what, let's go for dishonest means. Okay, so we've marked up dishonest, and now we're going to add a note. So we elicit from the class what dishonest means. Let's say not truthful. And we can save it and we can add it here. So our students can know exactly what Valda said in the chat, honest, exactly. Yes, we've got the opposite here. And then students can know exactly what we were referring to when we marked up that particular word. And you'll notice in the top left-hand corner here, it says save and exit. So every time you leave the platform, everything you do on here is saved. So you'll have that note and you'll have the circled word and everything else you've marked up, your timers, your scores, your clocks, any other sort of annotations you've made to the text as well, they will all remain on there, which is an excellent feature because if you want to go back and revise what you've done in previous lessons, you don't have to sort of take notes with pen and paper, it's already on the screen for you. Okay. So again, we've got our lesson report here. You can see how much of the activity we've gone through and how many attempts. But at the moment, I haven't won my award, but I really want to win my award. So let's try and finish this activity. What is the opposite of lazy in the text? Can anyone tell me? So we've got it in the bottom box here. Yep, perfect. We've got hardworking. And shy. What is the opposite of shy in the text? Yep, super fast, outgoing, nice. And the last one, silly. Sensible, lovely. Keep missing the ends of my words, don't I? Perfect. So let's check our answers. Wonderful, and we've won another award here. This time we've got a medal. So let's go back to our lesson report. And you can see our medal here for exercise 5, because we skipped 4, 3, and 2 as well. Wonderful. Okay, so let's go back to our double page spread here. So we can go back to the home button. We're going to close our tools and you can see all of the activities that we can zoom in on as well. So as I said, everything is saved once you leave. So as I mentioned earlier, we have some icons at the top here. So let's just have a look through these. So with the whiteboard, you'll probably be familiar with this tool. You have all of your annotations that you can use at the bottom. You can also upload a photo, which is really useful, perhaps if you're doing exam preparation, or perhaps if you want to personalize the lesson yourself and bring in your own experience. You can upload a photo and annotate it or elicit language from your students as well. You can also download the board too. So anything you've done in the lesson, if you want to use it offline, perhaps for homework or self-study purposes, you can also download this as well. So this is just using the icon in the top left. And then we click the home to go back to our page. But we're going to go to the workbook here. So this opens in a new tab, but it works in exactly the same way as our student book did. So we can zoom in on the activities. All of the activities are interactive. Again, it's gamified. We can have multiple attempts. It will show us our number of errors with our lesson report as well. So as I said, the workbook works in exactly the same way. Resources, if we click on our resources tab, just be aware that they do open in new tabs. We've got all of the resources that come with your course book. So if you are using Focus or High Note, a lot of the resources are very similar. You've got your assessment package, you've got your photocopyable resources, audio, video, word list, and you've even got videos at the bottom, how to teach with Focus as well. As I mentioned, we've got notes on accessibility and inclusion, and this is specifically how to use dyslexia in your classroom. And you've also got your teacher's book and answer keys as well. Just going back to our main students book, actually, I didn't mention, but we also have the teaching notes here too. So similar to the workbook and your resources, you have your teacher's notes if you prefer to read through them before you teach your lesson, rather than clicking on the light bulb as well. Okay, I'm just going to have a look in the chat box if anyone has any questions. Nope, nothing at the moment. Great. Okay, so let's go back to our students book, and you'll notice that sorry, my computer's not being helpful today. You'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner, you've got online practice and extra digital activities as well. So these would both open in a new tab. And with these, you can assign these for your students to do in real time. So by that, I mean, you can assign them in the lesson and students can complete them in the lesson, and you can see exactly how they're getting on, what progress they're making, what errors they're making, and what you need to teach in the upcoming lessons. And I will show you how to do that in just a moment. So we've got a question come through. How do students get access? So I believe we've got Kasha in the chat. So hopefully she'll be able to answer that question for you on how you access it. But to get onto the platform itself, you go through the Pearson English Portal and you click on your book as we did at the beginning, and then it will say Pearson English Connect. But if you don't have access to the portal, hopefully Kasha will be able to answer that for you in the chat. Okay, let's go back to our students book. So I want to go back to our dashboard. So this is our Pearson English Portal. Remember, we clicked on this at the beginning and we had all of our resources, our online practice, digital activities. So these are exactly the same as the tabs that you saw on the main students book as well. It's just another way to get to it if you prefer to do that. So before we start talking about these tabs at the top here, so your groups, your assignments, and the gradebook, I just want you to talk about videos. So in Focus, there's videos in every single unit. So let's zoom in on this activity. And I just want to show you that they're available to use at the point of use. So in these activities, we've got before you watch and while you watch. So I'm going to click on while you watch and our video comes up here. We can make it full screen. We can also add closed captions.
My name is Jurje Mentink. I'm a student and I'm living here in this nursing home.
This nursing home is in the Netherlands.
So if you prefer your students to read along whilst they listen, you can turn on and off the closed captions. There's also the transcript as well, if you want to use that, and the markup tool perhaps to circle some of the language. let's say residents, for example. And remember, everything saves once you leave. Oh, it's left it on my video.
Most of the residents.
And you can also change the speed of the video down here as well. You can make it much slower if your students are of a lower level. A really useful feature as well is model answers. So the question is, what is unusual about student accommodation in this situation? So students can type their answers, but they can also compare them to the model answer as well. And that applies to all of the reading activities. And again, as I said, students can record themselves if they prefer to speak rather than type as well. Okay, so let's go back to where we had all of our tabs here. So my content is where you'll have your course book and where you can teach, as we just looked through. Groups. So this is where you'll find your classes. And unfortunately, I'm not teaching at the moment, but I've added a demo class here for this purpose. So you'll see you have these icons here. So with this one, this takes you to your dashboard. On the left-hand side, it would show you all of the users, so all of the students in your class. And then you've got your chat box function as well. If I click on this icon, it will take me to the gradebook. And I'll show you an image of what a completed gradebook looks like in just a moment. But it would have all of your students here, their average result, their progress, and all of the skills broken down as well. So how they've performed in each of the activities that I've assigned them that we all went through together. The same goes for tests and live assignments as well. And finally, this will be interesting. We'll have a double video going on. So if I click on the video icon, it will take me to my lesson itself. So this is my virtual classroom. So I think it might be a bit tricky because I'm already on video, but my video would come up here, as would my students' videos as well. So this is where we actually teach our lessons. We've got the chat function, and you'll notice at the top, we've got these tabs as well. So activity is where I would assign my students their activity that they can do live. I've also got question, so I can ask my students a question, such as, what is your favorite sport? I'll send the question and it goes to all of the students. The students can publish their answers with their names or anonymously, and I have the option to publish them as well if I prefer to hide them. And finally, we've got the breakout rooms as well, and you can assign as many students to as many new rooms as possible, as you prefer. So this is your virtual classroom. So as I said, everything you need all in the one place. You've got your chat, your questions, your audio and video, which is struggling at the moment because of course I'm in the webinar, and the breakout rooms as well. And then we can simply end our class. Okay, does anyone have any questions at the moment? No, perfect. So as you can see, we do have absolutely everything in one place. So the final thing I just wanted to show you is that you have this dark mode and the font scale at the top. So this is referring to the accessibility that I mentioned, and accessibility guidelines have really been taken into account when creating and designing the Pearson English Connect platform. So there are many, many features which are accessible to a range of disabilities, hard of hearing, partially sighted, for example. And you can find out more about this by clicking on this menu on the left here. We can go to help and training, click on our resources, and you'll see that you have accessibility here. So if you click on this, it's got the guidelines on here for you, how Pearson English Connect is mapped to the guidelines, and different shortcuts that your learners can use on their keyboards as well. And we even have a video too, which shows you how to use the screen reader. We've got FAQs too for teachers and students if you require that in your lessons as well. And it's really just going to help you and train you to use those resources should you need them. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen with you. Does anyone have any questions before I go off the platform? I just want to go back to the original question that we had in the chat box about how we log in. So as you'll see, I'm on my Pearson English Portal. I sign in. And then I find my course, and Pearson English Connect is on there. So hopefully that answers your question in the chat as well. Okay, so let's go back to our slides. Wonderful. So I just want to show you here what the virtual classroom and gradebook would look like once you have your students in there, because of course I didn't have any students in mine. So I just want to show you, once they've completed assigned activities, what that would look like to you. So those activities would be things that I've assigned to my students, some of the interactive activities that you saw, or perhaps the digital activities that we can give as homework as well. And you can see here what their scores would be, as I said, in each skill. So it's sort of a traffic light system. We've got the red, amber, and green. So green would represent a high percentage, like 100%, 90, 85%, and so on. You can also see the average time that it took them, what grade they got overall, and their progress through the activity. So if they've done 51%, they need to work a little bit harder and get through the activities. Okay, any questions about the grade book at the moment? No? Okay, so we've looked at the platform in depth, and hopefully this question has already been answered, but let's just do a quick summary of how Pearson English Connect can make your teaching stress-free. So we've got everything in one place. As we saw, you've got your video conferencing, you've got an easy way to communicate with your learners by asking them not only questions, but also having the chat box function as well. You can assign activities through the platform, which means you don't need to go online and find lots of different activities to send links to your students. You've also got your tools such as your timers, your scoreboards, and your whiteboards as well, which is downloadable and all saved as soon as you come off the platform. So you really do have everything in one place. As I mentioned, the accessibility guidelines that Pearson English Connect adheres to, so it's accessible for all learners, and that's really crucial to just make sure we're using inclusive practices and really considering the different learner styles and needs of all of our students as well. These aren't only things that our students have told us, these are things that we sort of know by spending time with our learners and things that we feel could really help them just achieve and be themselves in English, essentially. Ease of communication, as I mentioned, you've got the question and answer function and the chat box too. Gamified learning is when we completed those activities and we won the trophy, we won the star, and we had the lesson report, and we could see all of the activities that we'd gained awards and rewards for as well. And that really just motivates learners and engages them in the activities because they want to achieve those different placements as well. We've got real-time grading, which is such a lifesaver for us when we don't have time to, one, assign activities, to find them online, but also to grade them. The only difference with that would be obviously the speaking, but the writing, we've got students to compare model answers. And of course, we can always encourage peer learning as well, get students to listen to each other or to look at each other's writing and to grade each other as well, which also reduces our time as teachers that we need to spend marking. And of course, it's very easy to access. As you saw, you just log on to your Pearson English Portal and it should be there. So I saw in the chat box, we had a comment that you might not be able to see it on your Pearson English Portal at the moment. There are only a number of courses currently that are using Pearson English Connect. We have High Note, Focus, and Roadmap. So if you don't have one of those courses at the moment, Pearson English Connect will be launching shortly for your course. But if you don't use those three, then you might not see it on your portal at the moment. We have another question in the chat box. So the course is used for online. Yeah, it could, Pearson English Connect could be used for online. It's also face-to-face or hybrid because you can teach your lessons on there with your video conferencing software if you are fully online. If you are standing at the front of the class teaching face-to-face, you can simply share your screen and use the activities exactly as we did, but just as sort of a presentation tool at the front of your class. Do the activities together, or perhaps get the students to do the activities in the print book whilst you're doing them on the presentation tool as feedback. So I have just answered a couple of questions, but if anyone has anything else, please do feel free to write it in the chat box. We do just have a couple of minutes left before the break and then the next session. But yeah, if not, thank you all so much for coming. The time absolutely flew by. I don't know where the last hour's gone. So thank you so much. And it's been wonderful chatting to you and hearing about your experiences of teaching online. And the challenges that we've all faced. And hopefully with Pearson English Connect, this can sort of go some way to tackling those challenges and making our teaching a lot easier and really reducing that stress as well. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day and enjoy the remainder of the sessions.